Welcome to our channel. And today we're going to be answering the extraordinary question, why do people believe the Earth is flat? Buckle up, because I'm about to drop some seriously wild facts that'll blow your mind. Lately, folks have been wondering if we can really trust that the Earth is a globe. A group of folks called Flat Earthers actually thinks the Earth is flat, like a disc. They believe North America is in the center, and that the South Pole is just an ice wall keeping the water from spilling off the edge. Wild, right? But why would anyone believe something so clearly false? You might not have thought too much about the shape of the Earth since you were a kid. The next time you're watching a flat Earth video, pay close attention to who's making it. The less educated you are, the more likely you are to believe the Earth is flat. The first is that the Earth is flat. The second is that NASA is lying about the Earth being round. And that's especially true of religious people. If you're deeply religious, you're more likely to believe in conspiracies than atheists. In fact, research shows that people who are obsessed with conspiracies often suffer from depression and anxiety. People refuse to abandon beliefs because it would challenge their worldview and potentially lead to negative consequences. For example, if someone doesn't believe that global warming is real, it could change the way they live their lives. They have to consider what kind of impact they are having on the planet and how their actions affect others. That's a lot to think about, and it's scary. So instead, they cling to conspiracy theories that support their worldview. Believing in conspiracies becomes a coping mechanism that helps them deal with the pressures of everyday life. Well, there's not much we can do except be aware of the signs. We should also encourage people to pursue higher education, strengthen their analytical skills, and accept the uncertainty of life. As long as people feel vulnerable and powerless, they'll seek comfort in conspiracy theories. That's why the best way to protect yourself from falling for conspiracy theories is to be happy and financially stable. Just kidding, sort of. For example, people who are religious are more likely to believe that the September 11 attacks were orchestrated by the US government because they think God would unallow such a tragedy to occur without divine intervention. Religious people are also more likely to believe in alien conspiracies. For example, they may believe that aliens exist, but that the government is hiding their presence to prevent people from panicking or losing faith. And the third is that most of the world is in on the conspiracy. And the last one really ties everything together. You see, joining a conspiracy theory group is also a way for vulnerable people to protect their self-esteem and control their environment. It gives them a sense of power and certainty in an unpredictable world. By believing that the Earth is flat and that almost everyone is lying to them, they're able to remove themselves from the chaos and uncertainty of everyday life. They know the Earth is flat, and they know that they're smarter than everyone else. It's an easy decision to join a conspiracy theory when you think you're smarter than everyone else. In fact, studies show that the more intelligent you are, the less likely you are to believe in conspiracies, because you are less likely to think you are smarter than everyone else. And there's a good reason for this. When people don't understand something, they're more likely to blame themselves for being ignorant. But when they do understand it, they're more likely to blame someone else for lying to them. Researchers peg this phenomenon as a sort of self-esteem protection. Basically, if you don't understand something, you don't want to admit you're stupid, so you assume it must be someone else's fault. And since you think you're smart enough to realize how smart you are, you assume whoever is lying to you is doing it intentionally. That's why people who are highly educated are more likely to believe in government conspiracies. They think it's the government's fault they don't understand something. And since they think they're intelligent, they must be right. On the other hand, people who are scientifically illiterate are less likely to believe in conspiracies because they do and want to admit they do and understand something. Chances are they have no formal education beyond high school, and that's because a lack of education leads to a lack of critical thinking skills, which makes you susceptible to conspiracy theories. There's evidence that flat earthers often struggle with basic math. One researcher even created a test to measure how well flat earthers understood fractions. Their average score was below the 6th grade level. This is called scientific illiteracy. And according to Dr. Joseph P. Forgas, a psychologist at the University of New South Wales, people who are scientifically illiterate tend to fall back on common sense rather than evidence-based reasoning when solving problems. And we all know what happens when people try to use common sense to understand complex topics. They end up creating conspiracy theories. In fact, There are hundreds of YouTubers and websites dedicated to flat Earth theories. If you go onto YouTube, you can find videos that argue that NASA faked the moon landings. When it comes to this group specifically, many members feel isolated and angry at society for not listening to their concerns. They want to feel special and important, and believing something controversial makes them feel that way. After all, they think they've uncovered the biggest lie in history, and it gives them a sense of importance and power. This idea is backed up by research. A study published in the Journal of Personality and Individual Differences found that people who score high on the openness to experience scale, which measures how imaginative, curious, and creative someone is, are also more likely to believe in conspiracies. In other words, people who are naturally imaginative are also more likely to be flat earthers. That's because imagination allows you to make up for a lack of real-life experiences. People who are open to experience but lack social skills may be drawn to online communities like flat earthers because it lets them have a sense of belonging without having to interact with people face-to-face. And that the Earth is a disk surrounded by a dome that keeps us safe from the vacuum of space. But these claims are pretty far-fetched, so what makes them so appealing? The modern flat Earth conspiracy isn't just one person, or even a small group of people. Well, it turns out that the reason people believe the Earth is flat has less to do with their intelligence and more to do with their psychological profile. First of all, the Flat Earth movement is driven by a desire to be part of a community and to feel special. As social psychologist Dr. Karen Douglas explains, people are drawn to extremist groups because they offer a sense of belonging, certainty, and meaning. That's especially true when society feels unstable or unpredictable. That's why people who join extremist groups tend to come from unstable families, don't fit in socially, and have no strong political party to call their own. It's like that saying, "Show me your friends, and I will tell you who you are." Except it's more like, "Show me the conspiracy theories you believe in, and I will tell you what kind of personality you have." So now that we know that people join conspiracies to become part of a group, let's see how that applies to flat earthers. But there's another very important factor that leads people to believe the Earth is flat. In fact, researchers have found a direct correlation between scientific literacy and belief in conspiracy theories. But the main problem here is that flat earthers aren't just believing in one conspiracy theory. They're actually subscribing to 3 different ones. But that's not the only reason people subscribe to conspiracy theories. Sometimes it's because they want to be part of something bigger than themselves. It's also worth mentioning that people who are low in self-esteem are more likely to join a conspiracy theory group because it gives them a sense of purpose and belonging. Finally, let us not forget that people sometimes believe conspiracies simply because they do understand the evidence against them. This is called motivated reasoning. Now, after learning all of this, you might wonder if there's anything we can do to stop people from falling for conspiracy theories. Dive into the wild world of the most insane conspiracy theories, or explore the weirdest unsolved mysteries. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more mind-bending what-if videos.